In order to become great at something, in order to become a master of any given topic, it requires slow, steady, and consistent incremental progress. Hey guys, Coach Jason here, and today I want to talk to you about one of my clients who came in completely like zero experience, has barely talked to women in his entire life, and now he's doing so much better. And I've been reminded, because a lot of guys out there feel that they gotta be good at game, good with women, the moment they crack open a YouTube video or the moment they read one single book on masculinity. They think, okay, I read one book, I should be James Bond right now. And that is just simply not the case, okay? Any success in your life, whether it be with women, dating, your career, a sport, a hobby, arts, filmmaking for myself back in the day, photography, music. Do you think the best bands in the world were just an overnight success? They were not. Even Casanova, one of the most famous ladies' men in history, spent years cultivating his craft and studying. Okay? Luckily for you guys, there is so much more information out there than when Casanova was doing it. So the information is there, but you gotta be patient. Okay? So I want to share with you guys, this is an inspiration, I hope, for all of you out there who are still learning. Maybe you've had some success. Maybe you've had a lot of failures with the women that you've gone out with. And you are at a point where, I'm just tired of dealing with the grind. Well, that means that you're pushing away your own masculine essence. Because masculinity is to push through, to persevere, and to break through anything that stands in your way, no matter what it is, or no matter how many tries it takes. Masculine virtue is patience. Okay, that is a very important masculine virtue. So I want to go through with you guys a success story that shows and illustrates the power of staying with something. So I have a client. He is certainly what you'd consider more of a nerdy type. Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you guys. He's probably the only guy in my whole client base that I would consider like nerdy. And even then, he's not overweight, he's not unattractive, but he's more of an introvert, bookworm, Dungeons and Dragons kind of a guy. Okay, but still handsome actually. He's taller, he's good looking, but he just has no experience with women whatsoever. Anyway, when we started, he had to build his foundation, and his biggest hurdle was just literally talking to women, period. And when we first started, it wasn't even about getting numbers, going on dates. It was just literally, can he build up the courage to talk to a girl about any random subject, okay? This took him a little while. It was bumpy. He had a bumpy start, but I coached him through it each week. He would report back to me, and I gave him tips, guidelines, feedback, brutal feedback of what he did good and what he needed some work on. From there, he moved on to actually escalation and going for a number, going for something beyond just casual conversation. And sure enough, with repetition of a lot of failures, a lot of approaching and then just falling flat on his face, a lot of near misses of he would talk to him but wouldn't go for a number close or wouldn't escalate. He'd get lost in the sauce and just completely, lose his shit. But he stuck with it, right? He'd come back, he'd report it to me, we'd go through it, we'd break it down. And each week, he would take one small, tiny little step up the staircase, okay? He wasn't making leaps and bounds. He was making one step at a time, one small step at a time, okay? But he kept with it. And the funny thing is because he's kind of introverted, a lot of the times I'd be kind of checking in, like, are you doing this stuff? Like, what's happening? Sure enough, he was doing it, because each week he'd come back with something new to share. And most recently, he came back to me and shared that he actually it was a cold approach. Okay, out in the city where he lives, it was a cold approach, and he talked to a girl. He had no idea who she was, a stranger. A little bit of banter, and then suggested going to grab coffee for an instant date. Okay, this was amazing. Okay, he went from, like I said, had never really talked to girls hardly at all, to now at the stage where he actually was. I don't think he was comfortable. I'll be honest with you. He wasn't comfortable, but he pushed through it anyway and asked her to go to a coffee date, and she agreed, and they went, and they had their little date together, and that was that. Now for him, this was a big win, and I told him that, because when you look at where he came from, being completely clueless, no experience, to slowly stepping up to the point where he did everything right. He escalated. He led her to a coffee shop. He was able to keep the conversation going. Now, granted, he shared with me his own personal feelings. He felt like he could have done a lot better. He felt that there were hiccups, and I don't doubt that. But again, this was the first time that he was able to get that far with it. And again, this is a big win. So for those of you guys out there who maybe just feeling like giving up, feeling like it's not worth it, feeling like no matter what you do, nothing seems to work, it's easy to think I have to master everything at once, okay? And I'll even give you an example of myself when I was younger, getting into filmmaking, because that was my career before coaching. I was a director for many years. I would see someone else's film and think, God, like, I'll never be able to make something as good as that, because there's just so many things to think about. And I realized I just have to do one little thing at a time here, okay? I have to, first of all, how do I work a camera? How do I just point and make a decent looking shot? It was that basic. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably grew up with cell phones. You're used to filming things, like it's become like a second language. But back when I was a kid, we didn't have cell phones. We had old VHS tape cameras, and had to shoot like that, right? So it was just, when you see something like Star Wars, you're like, how would you ever make that? But you have that dream, you have that hope. And for you guys, when you see men out there walking around with a girl on their arm, couples enjoying a cocktail at a bar somewhere, you're like, man, how do I get there? It's like, this seems like impossible. There's so many things to consider. Well, you break it down one step at a time, just like my client did. It starts with one little step. Get good at that. Then you go to the next step. Get good at that. And you just keep adding on. And this is why I'm very proud of this particular client. Because like I said, it's not his nature. It's not second nature to be out there and outspoken and talk with people he doesn't know. It's not that he can't do it. And it's not that just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you can't do it. And I'm going to be real with you guys for a second. I really think being introvert is a bit of a cope. A lot of guys say this, that they're introverts, when in reality they're kind of afraid. They're lazy. Okay? Because if you can believe this, when I was younger, I would consider myself an introvert. But the truth was, I was just afraid. And I didn't know how to interact with people that much. Okay? Like the way I can speak like this now, it was not how I spoke back when I was in junior high, high school, even parts of college. With friends, I could. And what that tells you, if you can speak like this with friends, that means you have the ability, but you are choosing not to use it, or you're telling yourself that you can't do it with strangers. And this is a mindset shift. So, for him claiming to be an introvert, I'm like, okay, sure, whatever, but we're going to still get you to a spot where you can get comfortable doing that kind of stuff. Okay, so he's gotten to the point where he went on an instant date. I'm very proud of him for doing that. And for those of you guys out there who, like I said, maybe find yourself in the same spot of feeling stuck, one step at a time, each day. Get a little bit better. That's all you need to do. You don't need to be a professional overnight, all right? And if you would like to get more concrete strategy, you want some guidance, you want some feedback from myself, then I want you to click that link down below. Book a consultation call with me. It's free, and it's an opportunity for you and I to chat to see where you're getting stuck, what is holding you back, and if it seems like a good fit for you to join my coaching program, I'll walk you through how that works, and we can get you started right away. All right? That does it for this video. I will see you in the next one.